Hello, everybody, and welcome to our presentation entitled Islamic Education and Multi-Religious Citizenship. I'm Florian Pohl from Oxford College of Emory University, and with me is
Ahmad Afnan Anshori from State Islamic University, Walisongo, Semarang, Indonesia.
And our presentation today follows the outline that the conference organizers suggested. And so we will start by briefly just pointing back to mid-November 2014, when we first became interested in our topic and started our collaboration. Both Afnan and I participated in the founding meeting of the Association for the Study of Religion in Indonesia, which were representatives from religious studies programs throughout the state system for Islamic state higher education. Participants there responded to challenges that they had experienced that had to do with dwindling numbers of students, kind of competition for funding, and also an overall sense of a negative reputation that the program had. And so they petitioned the participants there. They petitioned the Ministry of Religion that oversees the state Islamic higher education and the religious studies program, and argued within those petitions for the continued vital social relevance of the program, the study of religion, within the framework of Islamic higher education in a multi-confessional state such as Indonesia. Obviously, the question of religious studies and how education programs prepare students for life in multi-confessional states is relevant not just to Indonesia, but also beyond. And so we're particularly interested in asking how those who support the study of religion, studi agama-agama, here SAA, how they assert the public priority of their vision of Islamic education, particularly how they articulate their view of religious diversity and support for religious citizenship in Indonesia. We want to briefly contextualize the beginnings of the study of religion within the state system and point back to the 1960s, when the program as comparative religion started under Mukti Ali, who became in the 1970s the Minister of Religious Affairs, a time during which he promoted Perbandingan Agama, comparative religion, throughout the state system. Mukti Ali very much connected the study of religion to larger social goals, the creation of social harmony, and moved interreligious dialogue into the center of the program. This emphasis and role persisted within comparative religion, also in the New Order era and beyond, in the Reform era. Herman Back in 2002 still called comparative religion, quote unquote, a pillar of social harmony. However, and Afnan can talk a little bit about this, more recently, some of the issues that I listed here have challenged the contributions of Perbandingan Agama, comparative religion, to the state system.
Yeah, well, I will look at contemporary issues that SA or PA face. The first is social, political, economic issues. The first is debate over what counts as properly Islamic or accusation of heterodoxy. There are outsiders that accuse PA or SA is not properly Islamic. This is the challenge that SAA or PA face. For example, attending churches for interreligious dialogue was often associated with not Islamic activities, which automatically contributes to negative image of the study program. The second, potential job prospects on concrete profession. SAA program through ASAI or Asosiasi Studi Agama that Pak Flo explained previously have proposed the government to provide job formation, concrete job formation for PA or SA alumni, especially those related to efforts of maintaining religious life in Indonesia, such as becoming teachers in the field of religious studies, religious harmony counselors, interreligious conflict mediators, activists and staff of FKOB or Religious Harmony Forum, and also researchers in religious studies. Okay, I will move to other issues. Another issues is educational issues that SAA or PA should respond to. The first is upgrading of school to state Islamic universities. Another challenge that PA or SAA study program face is how to fit into universities, which means changing name or nomenclature is not enough. More than that, the study program should also review the curriculums to fit the new change. The second one is I just want to give example about the changes, how PA or SAA fit the curriculum with new educational policy such as National Qualification Framework or KKNI and Merdeka Belajar or Freedom to Learn.
Our study is essentially a curriculum analysis. We're interested in looking at how, through the official curriculum, defenders of the study of religion kind of respond to the challenges that Afnan outlined. And so we're supplementing the analysis of these published documents with semi-structured interviews with program administrators. The curriculum for us, following Popkowitz, is a discursive document, right? It shows us how proponents of the field respond to these challenges, tell us why the field is structured the way it is. And so we obviously acknowledge that as an official curriculum, these documents do not show us the operational curriculum, what happens inside the classroom. But we maintain that in terms of the discursive framing of the field, an analysis of the official documents is still quite productive.
From this slide, you can see the distribution of SAA program in Indonesia. It is not only in Java island, but also in main islands of Indonesia. You can see Sumatra, and then Kalimantan, and also Sulawesi. So the distribution of SAA program in Indonesia reflect Indonesia as multicultural country in the world. Well, now let's see our findings. When we look at the curriculum, we see that there is openness to wide range of intellectual tradition and disciplinary perspectives. For example, there is sociological and anthropological aspects in curriculum. Next, pedagogically innovative and socially engaged to respond contemporary issues, contemporary social relevance. For example, in curriculum, they have course or classes in religion and human rights, religion and gender, religion and ecology. They also have community orientation called PPL or KKL. For example, student visit religious sites of other religion, and then they also invite experts from different religion to talk or to give a talk in their university. And there is also dialogue. Dialogue orientation is central here. So there are classes that enable students to meet and dialogue with other people from different religious traditions, not only interreligious relations such as Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism, but also intra-religious activities by inviting and doing interreligious dialogue with the Ahmadiyya community in Indonesia. And then another aspect is broad range of religious tradition, including non-recognized or local traditions such as local Javanese religion. Another thing is that as Florian cited about ASI or Asosiasi Studi Agama Indonesia, it tries to develop core curriculum for all SA programs, the curriculum that all study program must have. But each individual program has special focus, which is locally relevant content. For example, in Walisongo, they develop a program called Mediation and Conflict Resolution in collaboration with a Center of Mediation and Conflict Resolution in the university.
So our conclusions from these observations are first that we see a clear commitment shining through these curriculum documents to multi-religious citizenship. That doesn't mean that the curriculum documents always refrain from theological assessment of other religions. Quite the opposite. They sometimes confidently assert theological superiority of Islam over other religions. However, the field remains intimately connected to emphasizing the search for similarities across differences, and therefore emphasize interreligious dialogue as a means to promote social engagement and mutual understanding. Second, the conceptualization of religious diversity here happens within a normative Islamic framework. That means that it's not merely derivative of Western concepts, but rather ascribes a positive value to religious diversity in such a way that it is derived consistently from normative principles within the Islamic tradition, such as social justice, equality, human dignity. However, and this is our last point here, we're also aware that the success that promoters of the study of religion have here is not simply due to their ability or willingness to creatively, pedagogically innovate, to justify their inclusive views and the reference to foundational Islamic concepts. But we also see here that defenders of religious studies programs assert the public superiority of their vision of Islam under reference also, as Afnan pointed out earlier, to local traditions, and under reference to the Pancasila as Indonesia's foundational state philosophy and its de facto civil religion. So by highlighting how educators draw on shared practices and institutions that go beyond the individual, so local traditions such as Javanese traditions that place you in a local community, or the Pancasila that places you into a national community. So by drawing on these as sources of cultural legitimacy and power to defend their position, study of religion curriculum designers show here that strong personal religious identity isn't necessarily connected to animosity and hostility towards a religious outgroup. That indeed identification processes are more complex, that they can prioritize civic rather than religious identity. And so we see here as one of the strategic ways also a way to push back against essentializing views of religious identity and to assert that social identity construction within an Islamic educational context remains more fluid and potentially hybrid. And so we, just in the interest of time, we'll end it here. We have a couple, of course, also of caveats and limitations that we could point to that have to do with state incentives to develop a certain way, or the also kind of limiting and narrow history that the Pancasila as state ideology has. But we'll leave that hopefully for some Q&A if possible, and we'll show here briefly our selected bibliography and say thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to present our findings, and we'll look forward to sharing more soon.